reeled against her back. Everything in the room was immediate and pressing against her senses. My son lives. Paul looked at his mother. She told the truth. He wanted to get away alone and think this experience through, but knew he could not leave until he was dismissed. The old woman had gained a power over him. They spoke truth. His mother had undergone this test. There must be terrible purpose in it. Pain and fear had been terrible. He understood terrible purposes. They drove against all odds. They were their own necessity. Paul felt that he had been infected with terrible purpose. He did not know yet what the terrible purpose was.
Someday, lad, you too may have to stand outside a door like that. It takes a measure of doing.
Paul looked down at the hand that had known pain, then up to the Reverend Mother.
I got Pokemon on my phone. They just put cards on the phones, not just the tablets.
There was an edge to them. The question he might ask her would bring an answer that could lift him out of his flesh to something greater.
Why do you test for humans?
To set you free.
Free?
Once men turned their thinking in the hope that this would set them free. Men with machines to enslave them.
Thou shalt not make a machine in the likeness of a man's mind.
Right out of the Butlerian Jihad and the Orange Catholic
I'm
Bible.
playing Pokemon cards.
But what the OC Bible should have said is, thou shalt not make a machine to counterfeit a human mind. Have you studied the Mentat in your service?
No, I'm just playing Pokemon, running
The
around.
Great Revolt took away a crutch. It forced human minds to develop. Schools were started to train human talents.
Any Jesuit schools?
We have two chief survivors of those ancient schools, the Bene Gesserit and the Spain Guild. The Guild, so we think, emphasizes almost pure mathematics. Bene Gesserit performs another function. Politics. Cool, hard.
The old woman sent a hard glance at Jessica.
I've not told him, Your Reverence.
The Reverend Mother returned her attention to Paul.
You did that on remarkably few clues. Politics, indeed. The original Bene Gesserit school was directed by those who saw the need of a thread of continuity in human affairs. They saw there could be no such continuity without separating human stock from animal stock, for breeding purposes.
The old woman's words abruptly lost their special sharpness for Paul. He felt an offense against what his mother called his instinct for rightness. It wasn't that Reverend Mother lied to him. She obviously believed what she said. It was something deep, something tied to his terrible purpose.
But my mother tells me many Bene Gesserit of the schools don't know their ancestry.
The genetic lines are always in our records. Your mother knows that either she's of Bene Gesserit descent or her stock was acceptable in itself.
Then why couldn't she know who her parents are?
Some do. Many don't. We might, for example, have wanted to breed her to a close relative, to set up a dominant in some genetic trait. We have many reasons.
Again, Paul felt the offense against rightness.
You take a lot on yourselves.
The Reverend Mother stared at him. Did I hear criticism in his voice?
We carry a heavy burden.
Paul felt himself coming more and more out of the shock of the test. He leveled a measuring stare at her.
You say maybe I'm the Wisat's Hadalak. What's that? A human Gomjabar?
Paul,
You mustn't take that tone.
I'll handle this, Jessica. Now, lad, do you know about the Truth-Sayer drug?
You take it to improve your ability to detect good. My mother's told me.
Have you ever seen truth trance?
No.
The drug's dangerous, but it gives insight. When a truth-sayer's gifted by the drug, she can look many places in her memory, in her body's memory. We look down so many avenues of the past, but only feminine avenues. Yet there's a place where no truth-sayer can see. We are repelled by it, terrorized. It is said a man will come one day and find the gift of the drug, his inward eye. He will look where we cannot, into both feminine and masculine pasts.
Your Kwisatz Haderach.
Yes, the one who can be many places at once. The Kwisatz Haderach. Many men have tried the drug, so many, but none has succeeded.
They tried and failed. All of them.
No. They tried and died.
Oh, hey, I got a viewer. Cool.
Understanding his mortal the Harkonnens is to attempt seeing truth without knowing falsehood. It is the attempt to see the light without knowing darkness.
Yeah, finally I got some kind of thing going on. Maybe they can hear June playing.
It was a relief globe of a world, partly in shadows, spinning under the impetus of a fat hand that glittered with rings. The globe sat on a free-form stand at one wall of a windowless room, whose other walls presented a patchwork of multicolored scrolls, film books, tapes, and reels. Light glowed in the room from golden balls hanging in mobile dispenser fields. An ellipsoid desk with a top of jade-pink petrified lacquer wood stood at the center of the room. Veriform dispenser chairs ringed it, 2 of them occupied. In one sat a dark-haired youth of about 16 years, round of face and with sullen eyes. The other held a slender, short man with effeminate face. Both youth and man stared at the globe, and the man half hidden in shadows.
There it is, Kaiser. The biggest man trap in all history. And the Duke's headed into its jaws. Is it not a magnificent thing that I, the Baron Vladimir Harkonnen, do?
Assuredly, Baron. The fat hand descended onto the globe, stopped the spin. Now, all eyes in the room could focus on the motionless surface and see that it was the kind of globe made for wealthy collectors or planetary government. It had the stamp of imperial handicraft about it. Latitude and longitude lines were laid in with hair-fine platinum wire. The polar caps were insets of finest cloud milk diamonds. The fat hand.
I invite you to observe. Observe closely. And you too. From 60 degrees north to 70 degrees south, these exquisite ripples, their coloring is another reminder of sweet curve. And nowhere do you see blue of lakes, rivers, or sea, and these lovely polar caps, so sweet. Would anyone mistake this place? Oh, Arrakis, truly unique. A superb set.
To think, Baron, the Padishah Emperor believes he's the Duke, your spice planet. How poignant.
That's a non-sequitur statement. Say this to confuse young Fade Ralpha, but it is not necessary to confuse my nephew.
The sullen-faced youth stirred in his chair, smoothed a wrinkle in the black leotard's wore. He sat upright as a discreet tapping sounded at the door in the wall behind him. Piker unfolded from his chair, crossed to the door, cracked it wide enough to accept a message cylinder. He closed the door, unrolled the cylinder, and scanned it.
Well?
The fool answered us, Baron.
Whenever did an Atreides refuse the opportunity for a gesture? Well, what does he say?
He's most uncouth, Baron. Addresses you as Harkonnen. No sire et cher cousin, no title, nothing.
It's a good name. What does dear Leto say?
He says, your offer of a meeting is refused. I have oft times met your treachery, and this all men know. He says, the art of Conley still has admirers in the Empire. He signs it Duke Leto of Arrakis. Arrakis. Oh my, this is almost too rich.
Be silent, Piper. Families. Vendetta, eh? And he uses the nice old word so rich in tradition to be sure I know he means it.
You made the peace gesture. The forms have been obeyed.
For a mentat, you talk too much, Piper.
And he thought, I must do away with that one soon. He has almost outlived his usefulness. The Baron stared across the room at his mentat assassin, seeing the feature about him that most people noticed first.
Not a fire
The
drill.
shaded lips, blue within blue, the eyes without any white in them. Grin flashed across Piter's face. It was like a mask beneath those eyes like holes.
But Baron, never has revenge been more beautiful. It is to see a plan of the most exquisite treachery.
Do you think
to
it's
make
real?
Leto exchange Caladan for
I'm still gonna go
Dune,
see all
and
the
without
cool kids hanging
alternative
out
because
for-
the Emperor orders it. How waggish of you.
You have a flux of the mouth, Piper.
But I am happy, my Baron. Whereas you are touched by jealousy.
Piper,
Aha, Baron. Is it not regrettable you were unable to devise this delicious scheme by yourself?
someday I will have you strangled, Piper.
Of a certainty, Baron. Enfant. But the kind act is never lost, eh?
Have you been chewing verite or some moonstone, Piper?
Without fear surprises the Baron.
Piter's face drew down into a caricature of a frowning mask.
Aha! But see, Baron, I know as a mentat when you will send the executioner. You will hold back just so long as I am useful. To move sooner would be wasteful, and I'm yet of much use. I know what it is you learned from that lovely Dune planet. Waste not. True, Baron?
The Baron continued to stare at Piter. Fade Rauser squirmed in his chair. These wrangling fools, he thought. My uncle cannot talk to his men without arguing. I think I've nothing to do except listen to their arguments.
Fade, I told you to listen and learn when I invited you in here. Are you learning?
Yes, uncle.
Sometimes I wonder about Piper. I cook pain out of necessity, but he... I swear he takes a positive delight in it. For myself, I can feel pity toward the poor Duke Leto. Dr. Yui will move against him soon, and that'll be the end of all the Atreides. But surely Leto will know whose hand directed the Pliant Doctor. And knowing that would be a terrible fate.
Then why haven't you directed the doctor to slip a Kinjal between his ribs quietly and efficiently? You talk.
The Duke must know when I encompass his doom. Great houses must learn of it. Knowledge will give them pause. In a bit more room to maneuver. The necessity is obvious, but I have to like it.
Room to maneuver. Already you have the Emperor's eyes on you, Baron. You move too boldly. One day, the Emperor will send a legion or two of his Sardaukar down here onto Gaiety Prime, and that'll be an end to the Baron Vladimir Harkonnen.
You'd like to see that, wouldn't you, Pacha? You'd enjoy seeing the core of Sardaukar pillage through my cities and sack this castle. You'd truly enjoy that.
Does the Baron need to ask?
You should have been a Bashar of the core. You're too interested in blood and pain. Perhaps I was too quick with my promise of the spoils of a...
Piter took 5 curiously mincing steps into the room, stopped directly behind Fade Rauser. There was a tight air of tension, and the youth looked up at Piter with a worried frown.
Do not toy with Piter, Baron. You promised me the Lady Jessica. You promised her to me.
For what, Piter? For pain?
Piter stared at him, dragging out the silence. Fade